there, welcome to Stamp Along with Rubbernecker. This is Preeti. Today I have a technique video and I'm going to show you how to create these very easy color-based Christmas cards. And what I'm using is, I'm using a product called Color Burst by Ken Oliver, and this is in the Rubbernecker store. And what they are they just powdered color in these little bottles, and I've gone ahead and chosen 3 different colors that I would be using for the project. I'm using a watercolor paper for this particular project because you want a watercolor paper. And you need a spritzer, you will need some sort of watercolor brush, and then some paper towel. So I'm starting off, I just want to show you how these paints or these colors work. So I'm just adding that powder directly onto my watercolor paper, and then I'm spritzing it water. And you can see the moment water touches this powder, it starts activating, and it kind of creates a burst of colors. Now you can also use it by after wetting the paper. So I've gone ahead and wet the paper and I'm adding this green powder into it, and you can see as soon as it touches the paper it starts like bursting out, and then you can use a watercolor brush to move it or whatever you want to do. And then you also want a heat gun because you want to make sure you're setting this color as you are doing the project, and the tissue is actually just a paper towel is just to sop up extra water. So that's pretty much how those colors work. So let's start off by taking this image, this stamp set. And this stamp set is from Rubbernecker, and I forget the name. I will put it in the description box below. And it's a Wreath stamp set, and I'm just stamping this image onto a watercolor paper using some embossing powder. So I'm just going to use my embossing buddy just to clear off any static, if there's any stickiness onto it, so that it doesn't, it sticks, the embossing powder sticks only where I want it to stick. And I'm using a gold embossing powder to heat set this, and then once I'm done with the heat setting, I am ready to start playing with the color burst inks. And here you can see it's all dry and it's ready to for the next step. So I'm starting off with the red color. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wet the paper, as I said earlier, and I had a little bit of a fleck which I just wanted to remove it. And then I'm just going to drop this color very lightly, tapping at the bottom of this tin or this little bottle, and I'm going to just tap that color right where the berries are. And you can see as soon as these colors touch the paper, because the surface is wet, the color starts dispersing and moving. And I'm going to use the spritzer and I'm going to spritz it. And when I'm using the spritzer, I'm really way high up above. I might be at least a foot above from where I'm spritzing. You don't want it to be very close because then you're putting a lot more water. So you just want it very lightly misting, and even that light misting, you can see how much this color starts bursting. And the reason for that is because these color-based powders are heavily pigmented. So the moment the water touches it, those pigments start moving around, and because they're so saturated in color, the vibrancy is so much that that even that little bit of water creates it to, like, there's a lot of color. The pigment or the color intensity is quite a bit. So now I'm continuing and I'm adding the lighter green shade that I have among the 3 colors that I have selected, and I'm going to do the same thing. Just keep adding the powder and spritzing it, and then sopping off the excess water. Now I have to tell you, if you are a control freak, if you like everything to be in order, you do not like chaos, you do not like things moving out of the way, the norm or things like that, this is not a project for you. It's hard for me. I am a control person. I want everything to be controlled. So it was kind of a challenging for me to do this. I had to constantly keep wiping, but then at some point I had to give up, and I said, you know what? I'm going to let it go. I'm going to let it flow the way it flows. Let it do what it has to do. and I will see how the result is. And then when I stuck with it and I finished it, and I really, really liked it. So if you're doing this and you're thinking, oh my goodness, what's happening? It's creating so much of a mess and so much of chaos, and there's no order in it, and I am not able to control it, then I'm telling you, I promise you, stick with it, and you will love the end result. This will come back. It will go through chaos and come back to order eventually. And now, as I was trucking, I also added the darker greener color into the pine side of the pine leaves part of this wreath, and you can see how beautifully that color dispersed as well. And I'm continuously sopping off the excess water so that it doesn't flow into the other areas. The second card that I'm going to make, I'll show you how you can maybe control a bit more. Again, you cannot do a lot of controlling, but maybe a little bit more than this one. This is quite loose, and I'm letting it flow all over the cardstock, and I'm just letting it go. So I mean, the end result is celebration. That's what it is. You look at the cardstock and you look at the tree, and it's like it's really that Christmas celebration of different colors. So that was pretty much it. And I'm going to leave that aside to dry. And now I'm going to go and start off with the second card that we want to create. So I'm taking this square cardstock. Again, this is a watercolor cardstock. This is a 120-pound cotton. I think it's a cold press cardstock. And this time I am going to heat emboss the same wreath with white embossing powder. And again, the result's going to look so different, though I'm going to use the same colors, follow pretty much the same technique. The end result is going to be so much different than the others. But the easy part of it, if you want to create a lot of Christmas cards, I think this is a good one to make, because it's basically stamp, emboss, add color, add water, and you're good to go, and it looks beautiful. So here you can see I've just added some paper towels around the edges of the wreath, and this is my control part that I was telling you, that I don't want the water to flow too much. I don't want my cardstock, all of it, to be colored. I just want the color to be concentrated only where the wreath is. So again, I'm starting off with the red color burst, which I added to the berries, and I spritzed the water, and then I'm again doing the same thing, helping the color to move a little bit with my watercolor brush, and then sopping off excess water, and then heat setting it in between layers. You want to heat set it as much as you can, because when you add water the next time and you add the next color, you don't want the red to start moving as well. Now keep in mind, when I add the green color and I add the water, the red will move. It's not, because this is watercolor, the moment watercolor touches it or water touches it, it will reactivate. So I'm just doing the same thing. I'm adding the green colors, and I'm just going to spritz it with water, and you can just see how beautifully that color starts moving. And this time I added a little more green than the red, so you can see the wreath is a lot more. And you can see, because I added that paper towels around it, my cardstock is quite clean, so the color is only concentrated in the corner of this square cardstock. So you can control it a bit, but not a whole lot. So I feel like both the cards look beautiful in their own different ways. The one where I covered the places, and one where I let it all loose and go however it wanted to go. And I really, really liked how this turned out. I really hope you give this color burst a go, and let me know what you think about it, and if you really like playing with it. Anyway, so now I'm done with the coloring both the cards, and you can see them how different they both look, and each time you do it, they're all gonna look so different. I want to add a little bit of splatter to this. So the one in which I embossed with white, I'm just using some white gouache, and I'm diluting it with water, and I'm just splattering it all over. And the one that I embossed with gold, I am just taking some metallic gold watercolor paint, and I'm just going to splatter that all over the place, and I think it adds to the festive feel of this particular card. Then I'm just taking this die from Rubbernecker. It's just a nested rectangle die, and I'm just trying to figure out where I want to cut this. And then I'm just going to add some purple tape just to hold the die cut in place, and I'm going to run it to my die cutting machine. And here you can see I've cut that into a smaller rectangle, and the other square cardstock I cut it to 4 by 4 inches on each side. And then I'm taking this Christmas sentiment stamp set, and I'm going to choose 2 different sentiments, and they're really beautiful sentiments in this stamp set. This one was a little longer, so I'm just trying to get a one that will fit into that circle in the center. So I just went ahead and stamped those sentiments using black ink. I'm sorry I didn't show you that. For some reason I lost that footage. And then I took a red note card. This is 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. It's a square note card, and I'm going to adhere this square panel onto that. And I want to show you that I added a lot of foam tape behind each of this. On the one I used foam tape, on the other one I used fun foam, and because it's a watercolor paper, because I did watercolor, they did warp a bit, so I just wanted to make sure that it was flat when I put it onto the note cards. So that's a reason why you see a lot of foam tape and fun foam behind each of these panels. Then I just adhered them each to the note card, the square on the red one, and then this one onto a white note card. And then of course it was time for some bling. I just felt like it needed some extra bling. Again, this is a Christmas card. It has to have all the sparkles in it, don't you think? So I'm just adding some iridescent gemstones to fill up that wreath a bit more. And you can see here, this is the finished card, and this is the other 2 cards that I showed you earlier. And you can see each of them looks so different. Every time you make them, they're all going to look different. I hope you enjoyed this video. Give us a thumbs up if you like this video, and subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.